Okay. Well, good morning, family.
Good morning.
This morning, I have the privilege of leading us in a talk story style eulogy for Joyce Waki. She was our mother, our grandma, our great grandma, or as she was also called, Obacha or Gigi. First, early years. Okay, but this is before many of your time, only me. Oh, and Uncle Bruce. This is where Grandma grew up in Kapakalua, Maui. This is the view of her backyard. You can see there were no neighbors nearby, really in the country. So Grandma grew up with humble beginnings. This is Matsuyo Murakami, Grandma's mother. She worked at the tuna factory, a cannery. And this man was Tsunehachi Murakami. Now, Grandpa Tsunehachi died when Grandma was only 12 years old, so we never got to meet him. But Grandma Babang lived with us for a long time. But these are Grandma's parents. And these are Grandma's siblings. Her oldest brother, Uncle Kazuo, was married to Auntie Blanche. They had two daughters, and he was the eldest. Then came Uncle Kazue, and he was married, and this is their son, their first of two sons. Next came Uncle Mike with the uniform. He was gone most of the time because he was in the military. And then came Auntie Pat, and then Grandma. And the baby of the family was Uncle Richard. And so this is me and Uncle Bruce. Okay, so this is Kapakalua School where Grandma had gone to school. If you had talked to Grandma and asked her, what were you like, Grandma, when you were in elementary school? She would probably say she was a tomboy and a rascal. Grandma loved climbing trees, she said. And there were lots of guava trees in where they lived. And so she loved picking guava and playing in the pasture with the neighbor kids. Although the neighbors were far away, she did have some friends, and so she liked to run around. At the school, Grandma at recess liked to run around and play with the boys and play ball. But one year, during her fourth grade year, she had a teacher that liked to paint the little girls' nails. And so she would call Grandma, come over. And Grandma would be upset because she wants to go play ball and run around. But Grandma, you know Grandma, very obliging. So Grandma would go and have her nails painted. Grandma, a rascal. Yes, she was a rascal. You know, Grandma, when it was time to do the dishes, Grandma said what she would do is Auntie Pat, her older sister, would say, okay, Joyce, come and do the dishes. She'd go, okay, okay. Then Grandma would go, oh, I get so stuck. And you know, those days, the bathroom was not part of the house. It was way over there. It was an outhouse. So Grandma would go, I have to go. And she would go. And Auntie Pat, being the neat freak, would not allow dirty dishes to sit. So she would wash it. And Grandma would go, okay, I guess it's time to get home. She would come home. She was really a rascal and fun-loving. But you know, Grandma, when she was young, I mean, even as we knew her as an older person, we knew that Grandma was a compassionate, kind-hearted person. And this trait started from when she was very young. I have to tell you the story that they had a neighbor, Mrs. Ito. And Mrs. Ito, while giving birth, had a stroke. And this stroke left Mrs. Ito deaf and mute. She couldn't speak. And so she had a hard time communicating. And so when she would go to the store, she couldn't tell the store owner what she wanted. But Grandma, somehow, she could understand Mrs. Ito. So Mrs. Ito would take Grandma would take Grandma to the store. And on the way, though it was rare, if there was a truck coming, Mrs. Ito couldn't hear. So Grandma would push Mrs. Ito on the side to make sure she was safe. They would get to the store, and Mrs. Ito would make signs like this, what she wanted, and Grandma would translate, oh, she wants this, oh, she wants bread. And I remember Grandma said one of the items was ume. Do you know ume, the pickle plum? And so she said Mrs. Ito would go like this. And so Grandma would oh, she wants ume. Yes. And because Grandma helped Mrs. Ito a lot, what Mrs. Ito would do is once a year she took Grandma to the dressmaker where she had a dress made for Grandma. Now this picture we're thinking might be her high school time. And Grandma went to Maui High School. Now Kapakalua was from kindergarten to 8th grade. Once you finish 8th grade, you had to go to the high school. And in Kapakalua, the homes were far apart. And so if there was a student who was also part of Maui High, they could walk together to the bus stop at Kokomo, which was quite a distance. But Grandma said during her freshman year, there was nobody else from Kapakalua that was going to Maui High. So she had to go by herself to the bus stop. And the bus stop was far away, and the road was windy like this. But Grandma, Grandma, being the adventurous person, she would take a shortcut through the woods to get to the bus stop. When it was winter time, Grandma would have to leave the house when it was still dark. And she would have to go on the road, side of the road. And Grandma said what she would do is, it's dark and no street lights, so she would feel her way like this. There was the embankment of the road. She would feel her way like this and go towards the bus stop. And she said that during winter months when it would rain, sometimes there would be thunder and lightning. And she said that she would be walking like this, and then she would hear the thunder, and then she knew, oh, lightning, and it would flash. She would look ahead, and she would run because she can see ahead. And then it would be dark, and then she would feel like this again. And this is how she went to school. During her teenage years, something very interesting happened to Grandma that doesn't normally happen to people. Grandma must have been around 15. There was a girl that she befriended, and the girl said, you know what? And the girl was an only child. And the girl and her parents were moving to Honolulu. So the girl said, you know what? Can you come with us to Honolulu and live with us only for a little while, maybe 3 months, because the girl was shy and she wanted a companion. So Grandma, she packed up her stuff, and I guess Obaba said okay, and she moved with this family for 3 months in Honolulu, and she was living there. And after 3 months, Grandma said, oh, I have to go home now. School going to start, and I have to go see my mom. And the father said, we don't have money for your plane fare. I'm sorry, you cannot go home. So Grandma ended up staying with the family a little longer and was going to McKinley High School. And what had happened was the girl, so a couple years passed by, she found a boyfriend. And when she had the boyfriend, of course, Grandma was left on the side. So what Grandma did was she moved out, and she lived with some girls on Spencer Street near their house, Bruce, Spencer Street. And these are some pictures of Grandma. Wasn't she pretty? Yeah.
Yeah.
Grandma now was going was going to school at McKinley, and she was also having to work to support herself now because now she's living with a bunch of girls. And so Auntie Mona says she worked at the soda fountain. I thought she worked at a cafeteria type restaurant. And Grandma did odd jobs to keep herself financially secure. But working a lot and going to school somehow was just too much. So Grandma ended up not finishing school and later getting her GED. Um, while she was going to school, um, it was a hard life for Grandma, being so young, going to school going to work and supporting herself. One of the jobs that Grandma had was she knew of this family who had a dress shop. And at the dress shop, they asked her to model the clothes. So Grandma would model the outfits, and occasionally, along with the payment, they would give her a garment, every so often. So Grandma must have been pretty to be asked to model, right? And one of the stories that Grandma would share every so often was, and I think she was a little proud of this story. She said she was going home to Maui. She wore the yellow dress that she had gotten from the store, the dress shop. She wore a matching yellow hat and she boarded the plane. And when she sat down, the flight attendant came and said, "Excuse me," and passed her a note. And Grandma opened it up and it was a note from the pilot. He was asking her for a date. So Grandma had, I'm sure, well, we're not with flying privileges, so that didn't work out. But yeah, but she had many suitors, I'm sure. Okay, and the next.
Edwina had a story for
Oh,
Oh no, because when I was looking, thank you for sharing that story, Spencer Street. Because you see the stairs where it says Spencer Street?
yeah.
She would tell that story so many times how she would dress up in her high heels and run up the stairs and run down the stairs, and they would be going out for a night of fun.
Oh.
And then I remember Randall was like, "Where were you guys going?" And then, yeah, so she told that story many times. It was nice to see those stairs that she would run up and down with her high heels.
Oh, is
Yeah.
that right?
On Spencer Street.
Oh, that's cute. Thanks for sharing that.
I remember her sharing that.
I didn't know that. See, Grandma was popular. This is David Waki, and I have to tell you about David Waki. He was the boy on the bicycle, and he was smitten by Grandma, and then Grandma moved to Honolulu. Well, Grandpa joined the army and he was stationed at Schofield Barracks. And I guess, like many young soldiers, they would go into town. And when he went into town, he went into a restaurant, an eatery, and he saw Grandma working there. And he must have remembered her as the girl at Princess Theater. And so, of course, Grandpa went, made an introduction, and then the two were together after that. Look how handsome Grandpa was, yeah? And, oh, yeah. And after he started to date Grandma, you know what he told Grandma? He said, I was the boy on the bicycle riding around. And Grandma said, "Oh, yeah, I remember that." He said, when he saw Grandma at the bus stop, he told her, he said to himself, "That's the girl I'm going to marry." No, isn't that cute? Yeah, I love that story. Okay, so wife and mother. Grandma married Grandpa in 1948. So she was 18 or 19 years old. She was very young. They were both same age and young. This is the house that we lived in Kuau. And we lived there for, I don't know how many years, maybe 12 years. But, and Obabang lived with us. So here's a picture of Grandpa and Grandma. And I put little inserts because these are some of her favorite pictures of herself. You know, when Grandma was at at the care home, I would bring these pictures, and she would go, "Oh, the pretty I was." And she was. Look at her. Okay, some more pictures of Grandma and Grandpa. And this is Grandma as a mother. Oh, as a wife, Grandma was very devoted to Grandpa. I mean, she did respond to all his beck and call. And, I remember one time Grandpa, he was watching TV, and in those days had only 3 channels. And Grandpa would sit in his armchair, and he would watch TV. And Grandma was in the kitchen washing dishes. And Grandpa would call her honey. That's all we ever heard, honey. And then here was Grandpa sitting down, honey, honey. And Grandma, yes, turn the channel. So Grandma come out of the kitchen, turn the channel, and go back. And I remember watching this and thought, oh no, that's not me. But fortunately for Uncle Ken, remote control. But they loved each other very, very much. Mother. Then came, I was I was the oldest, born in 1949. And here's Uncle Bruce. And then there was a big span of 8 years. And Timona was born, and then Uncle Randall. So it was like 2 sets of kids. And this is a picture of us as adults. Yeah. Here's Grandma. Oh, and Grandma worked for a little while at Hassarat Cannery. And at that time, she only had Uncle Bruce and myself. But later on at the Kuau house, where she had all 4 kids, she went to work. This is a picture of her going to work, carrying her little bento box thing. Grandma was a petite thing. She worked at glazing contractors. Glazing contractors is where they made screens, windows, cut mirror, cut glass, cut jalousies. And why Grandma went to work there, I don't know, except I think Grandpa and Mr. Tokuhisa, the owner of the company, were good friends. And I guess Mr. Tokuhisa was in a bind. So he asked Grandma if she would like to work, and she wanted to help support, bring in more income, because now we were getting older, getting ready for college. So Grandma went to work. And I remember at the glazing contractors, there would be these high tables where the men folks would cut the glass, cut screens, and put the screens together on the frame. And that's what Grandma did. That's what's her job. And I remember Grandma said that sometimes the project would be so big, she would climb on the table and have to roll that screen down because she was so petite. But Grandma, she worked hard. That's one of the traits that we've all picked up, to be an honest worker. And she made it all the way to the top, office manager. And as an office manager, Grandma was, I can see this. Mr. Tokuhisa depended on her for everything. She ran that office. And you know what? She would count the cash at the end of the day. Mr. Tokuhisa trusted her. He would just go off home or wherever, and Grandma would have to take care of the cash. And he had no worries because he knew Grandma was an honest person, that she would lock up and everything. So we can be proud of Grandma.
You know, can I say?
Yeah.
One time I took her to a doctor's appointment when I was visiting her on Maui. When we walked into the lobby, this old howdy man, he said, Joyce? And she went, Joe? And I don't know if he was a customer or her coworker, but he was so happy to see her. And he kept telling me, your grandma is the nicest, kindest person. And oh yeah, we know. But yeah, it was from, I mean, I don't know how.
No,
Probably
Joe was her co-worker at Glazing Contractor. Yeah. And you know, that is true because, you know, when we got the cards from people that were sending in cards of sympathy and condolences, so many people said, your mom was so kind to us. You know, the cousins from Maui and, you know, people that knew Grandma. Kind was a word that was used often. Life as a grandmother, she wore that title, Grandma, with pride. Family was starting to grow, and you see the spouses, except Uncle Randall was still young, but we already starting to have grandchildren. She was starting to have grandchildren. Okay, so now you'll see the grandchildren coming.
Can we recreate that photo? David, do you think I could?
These are just some pictures of Grandma with the family. And so Grandma had 10 grandchildren, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Caleb came a little after, so he has an insert. That's not Grandma, you know, in the back. That's me. But I had to put it in because I like that picture of Caleb. And of course, Brad, Grandma. Grandma was so supportive. You know, Grandma was the most supportive grandma that there could be. Okay? Grandma came to so many occasions, events. She would travel from Maui. If the event was on Maui, you couldn't be sure Grandma was going to be there. But this is a picture of Grandma at Mark's graduation. She attended so many graduations. I remember Lloyd's time when he graduated high school. We were there and we were waiting for Grandma to come, but I think she was coming late from the airport, so Auntie Mona brought her, and we were so worried. Uncle Ken and I kept on going, oh, help. But you know what? Grandma made it before you marched. And so she was there so many graduations. Here she came for Brad's graduation party. So she would come back for the parties even. So Grandma was always wanting to be a part of your folks' life. Here we are at Christmas time at Uncle Bruce's house. They came for Christmas, so we got to celebrate it together. Birthdays. Grandma would come for birthdays when she could. And here's one that was celebrated on Maui, and I think it was Uncle Randall's birthday, but Grandma always wanted to be a part of an occasion. This was Lloyd's birthday. Was it your birthday on Maui?
Probably.
Yeah. And this was recent. This was Uncle Bruce's birthday, but yeah, I like that picture. And Rachel with her cake. Yeah, Grandma always supported everyone. Uncle Bruce's yakudoshi.
Whoa.
Grandma and Grandpa came for that. It was at Willow's, and we took this picture. They came to be there. This was Thanksgiving. They were here for the holidays. Yeah. Weddings. Oh, Grandma came to so many weddings. Here she is at Mark and Jane's wedding. and Lloyd's wedding, Lloyd and Joy's wedding. She had come. And of course, she was here for Wendy's and Lauren's wedding. I mean, yeah, Grandma always made that effort to be here. You know, but Christmas. It's the Christmas. Grandma always there, always wanting to be with the family. And this is Grandma at the hockey game. Do you think Grandma loved hockey, roller hockey? No. Look, Grandma would go stand in the hot sun because her grandson played hockey. You know? And here's Uncle Randall.
Is that on the right?
And I have a baby picture, the only baby picture I could find, and it's of Lauren. But why I have a baby picture is who did all the babysitting when we traveled? It was Grandma. She would come, she would watch baby, and she was very kind that way, always supporting us.
Actually, so when Caleb came into town, the kids were asking about how much younger he was, right? And I told them the story of how Rachel was Coco's age when he was born.
Oh, yeah.
And my parents didn't find out what he was going to be.
Oh.
And so when they were at the hospital, Maui Grandma was watching us at the house. And it was just me, Rachel, and Maui Grandma. And I specifically remember I was taking a shower, and she goes, "Oh, Mommy had the baby." We were both like, "What is it? What is it?" She's like, "It's a boy," and Rachel just like was crying. And I was like, "Yeah!"
I was crying.
That's how I remember.
It was tears of joy.
But Maui Grandma was the one watching us.
Yeah. She would come and do things like that. And this is just a shot of when we were young. Here's Grandma teaching, making sushi with David. Grandma, what I remember when Uncle Bruce and I were young, would always take us to the park. And she would make tuna sandwich. The menu was always the same. Tuna sandwich and kitchen cooked potato chip and soda. But she would take us to the park. And Auntie Noreen would join us sometimes. Now, what is this doing here? It's to wake you folks up. This is Grandma and Auntie Mona beautifying themselves.
Watching K-dramas.
Grandma was Oshari. I mean, if I said, let's do something like that, oh, she would get so excited.
Yes. So, travels. Grandma didn't travel till she was older and we were all grown up. But I tell you, Grandma and Grandpa would not have been traveling had it not been for Uncle Bruce. Uncle Bruce made it so that they could go to the mainland first time. He took them to the mainland, and not only once. Uncle Bruce took Grandma, and I remember Lloyd folks being there, Wendy. He took us to Disneyland. Lauren's first time to Disneyland, and I think Jason's too. This is Grandma in Vancouver when Mark and Rachel were living on the, what campus was that? UBC campus. And so we had gone to visit Auntie Mona folks. But Grandma's two favorite places were Japan. She was so happy. Had it not been for Uncle Bruce, Grandma probably would have never gone to Japan. And I would probably never have gone too. This was my first time at age 50 to go to Japan. But the story is not about me, it's about again, thanks to Uncle Bruce. Another place that Grandma enjoyed was Vegas. She loved Vegas. And if you say, "So Mom, you want to go Vegas?" I don't know. Up to you. But once the plans were made, she was so happy. Now, this is Grandma's golden years, and this is 2017 to 2025. This we pretty much all have experienced. This is when Grandma moved up and was living at Olaloa. That she came in 2017, and you folks know the rest of the story. So I'm just gonna have Uncle Mike flash the pictures, and Uncle Mike set it to music. This is Grandma's favorite song.
二人を夕闇が包むこの窓辺に明日も素晴らしい幸せが来るだろう君の瞳は星と輝き恋するこの胸は炎と燃えている大空染めてゆく夕日色あせても二人の心は変わらないいつまでも幸せだな僕は君といる時が一番幸せなんだ僕は死ぬまで君を離さないぞいいだろ君はそよ風に髪を溶かせて優しくこの僕のしとねにしておくれ
So thank you, Grandma, for your love and for the legacy you left behind.